They did this with Cruel Summer too, where they're just like, no, we like it. We don't care if a label wants to put it out. We love this one.
Cruel Summer has its own lore. It's the fan favorite that took years to become a single. It's the song with the rant bridge Taylor made us prove we knew every night of the Eras tour. It's tangled up in one of the most persistent yet untrue rumors about Taylor and Olivia Rodrigo. It's one of the songs I get asked about most often. It's got fever dreams and knives, bleeding and a garden gate, and that darn vending machine. Taylor called Cruel Summer a desperate summer love that might be doomed from the start. But why was it so desperate? And who doomed it? This is the Taylor Explainer. I'm Krys, and I pull on the invisible strings in Taylor Swift's lyrics, uncovering the mysteries, references, and storytelling woven into her songwriting to explain how everything connects. Today, we're talking about Cruel Summer, the second track on Lover, Taylor's 7th studio album. Lover is remembered as one of her brightest, most colorful eras. Pastels, hearts, glitter, rainbows, romance, all of that is there. But Taylor didn't describe Lover as an album about perfect love. She called it a love letter to love itself, exploring the complexity of love. And she uses Lover to explore the darker side of romance, the anxiety of being with someone new, and the worry of losing someone you care about. To quote Taylor, it's not just flowers and sunshine, but the patchwork emotions that go into any love. The album opens with I Forgot That You Existed, where Taylor's looking back at something she once thought might destroy her, singing, I thought that it would kill me, but it didn't. Then we move directly into Cruel Summer, and we are right back in the language of danger, slow dying, deep cuts, and denial, trying to act cool while clearly unraveling. Cruel Summer is followed by Lover, the title track, an anthem about falling for and choosing a man who is magnetic and true, and declaring that love for the world to hear. Like the master storyteller she is, Taylor sends us through a storm before the rainbow appears in her cotton candy sky. Usually, this is where I like to bring in Taylor's own voice explaining some of the song, but Cruel Summer is a little unusual because Taylor has never talked about it in detail in a recorded interview. She's given us bits and pieces, though, and recently she talked about elements of her songwriting in a New York Times interview with the Popcast, sharing how her songs can come from all kinds of places.
They've been inspired by my life, by mythology, by fables, by books, by movies, by characters, by warnings, lessons. And they never quite happen exactly the same way, and I still don't quite understand how it works.
That piqued my interest because to me, Cruel Summer feels like a summer romance movie, like Grease. The heat, the secrecy, the car, bad decisions, all of existence inside one temporary, shimmering season. And Taylor's own description gives us the emotional framework, a desperate summer love that might be doomed from the start. Saying it's desperate means there's longing, urgency, anxiety, and maybe even panic. Summer love suggests something bright, intense, and temporary. And doomed from the start means the ending isn't a surprise. It's built in. There's a deadline for this romance. So, when we go into the song, we should be listening for a relationship that begins with an expiration date. Cruel Summer sounds glittery and addictive and fun. The music feels bright and thrilling and alive, but the lyrics keep telling us about death. This relationship is breakable. It's being kept alive with secrets, and she can see the end is already coming, but she tries to keep them both from looking too far ahead. So the question I'm asking isn't why the relationship ends, but how she knew it was dying all along. Speaking of dying, that's one of the invisible strings I found, and it helps us understand the emotional world of the song. Now, I'm not the first person to point out a connection between Getaway Car and Cruel Summer. There is a sonic connection others have noticed, and it confirms for me that the two songs are related. Getaway Car ends with this pulsing electronic beat, and Cruel Summer opens with a similar pulse, almost like we're being carried from one song's escape vehicle into another's fever dream. However, many interpret that sonic connection to mean that we're moving from one chapter of a story into the next chapter, whereas I believe we're staying in the same chapter, but learning about the emotional toll of the events in it. In the outro of Getaway Car, Taylor gives us three images: riding, crying, and dying in the car. Then Cruel Summer brings us back to a car, back to crying, and back to dying. Both songs are about a relationship that is hopeless from the beginning and contain those themes of goodbye. Getaway Car tells us the setup was doomed. It gives us the escape, the bad idea, the relationship that starts with an ending already attached. But it stays on the surface, giving us the mechanics of why it didn't work out and who did the leaving. Cruel Summer takes us a little deeper, and it shows us what it feels like to be in that relationship. What does it feel like to keep choosing someone when you already know there's a deadline? What does it feel like to smile through the fever dream while the end is hanging over you? Versus, that's the invisible string I want to keep in mind as we move through this song. But first, a quick acknowledgement that this deep dive is my own personal interpretation of the song. Others may interpret it differently, and that's precisely how Taylor likes it. We all get to have our take. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, so tag me at the Taylor Explainer if you share. The first verse opens with a fever dream. Fever dream high in the quiet of the night, you know that I caught it. Bad boy, shiny toy with a price, you know that I bought it. And because Taylor has talked about her songs being inspired by movies and characters, I want to bring the musical film Grease into this discussion. Grease begins at the end of a high school summer romance. Danny and Sandy are on the beach. Sandy has to go back home to Australia, and she wonders if what happened between them over the summer was real. Danny reassures her that it was. It turns out that Sandy doesn't leave, and she ends up attending the same high school as Danny. Then the song Summer Nights retells the story of their brief romance from each of their perspectives. And there's a verse at the end of that song that feels especially important here. The summer turns colder, and that's where it ends. He tells her they'll still be friends. They make a true love vow, and then he wonders what she's doing now. And there is such a strange little contradiction in those lyrics. The season ends, so the romance ends predictably. But the feeling was real enough for a true love vow. Temporary, but not casual. Over, but not gone. That's the emotional space Cruel Summer occupies. Taylor opens with a fever dream, which means this relationship doesn't begin in a stable version of reality. It begins in heat, haze, and altered perception. Then she says she caught it, and that works two ways. She caught the fever, and she caught feelings. Bad boy, shiny toy with a price, you know that I bought it. But this is supposed to be light, a shiny toy, something fun, distracting, and temporary. Also, he's a bad boy, a Danny Zuko archetype, but he's not a bad guy. He treated her well all summer long. The problem is that summer romance stories only stay light or cool if the feelings stay surface level. And in Cruel Summer, as in Grease, they don't. By the end of Summer Nights, Sandy sings of summer dreams being ripped at the seams. The romance may have been bright and fun, but the fantasy is being torn apart. And that is exactly where Cruel Summer takes us next. In the first pre-chorus, the fever dream becomes something more dangerous. Killing me slow, out the window. I'm always waiting for you to be waiting below. This is no longer just a hot, hazy dream. It feels like it's killing her slowly. The illness metaphor is getting stronger. I don't think the point here is that she is literally in danger. The relationship is the thing showing signs of illness. It feels good, but it is not well. And she's still into it. She's waiting at an open window, Romeo and Juliet style, hoping he'll be looking up from below. It has a very storybook feeling, but unlike Love Story, Taylor's famous retelling of Romeo and Juliet, Here, she doesn't frame this as innocent longing. She immediately surrounds it with devils and moral risk. Bad, bad boy, shiny toy. There's dice and even eye rolling angels. There's temptation here. This is a gamble. And with Grease in mind, I'm seeing the T-birds and pink ladies in this devil-angel dichotomy. The moral ambiguity is part of the appeal for Taylor. And then we get to the chorus where Taylor tells us what's really happening. This relationship is new and exciting, but she's already sad about it because she can see the ending from inside the beginning. She says everything is cool. That's the performance. That's what she tells people. Maybe even what she tells herself. This is another place where Grease helps us interpret the song. In Summer Nights, Danny and Sandy are telling the story of the same summer romance to two different audiences. Sandy's version is tender and dreamy. Danny's version is swaggering and exaggerated. He has an image to maintain. He has to act cool. In Cruel Summer, Taylor is the one acting cool, but neither Danny nor Taylor is cool about this at all. Danny's playing his feelings off like they never existed, saying he doesn't miss Sandy at all. Taylor is privately grieving the end while the relationship is still happening. And then we get one of my favorite lines in the song, "No rules in breakable heaven." On the surface, that sounds thrilling. No rules, no structure, just a beautiful temporary world where they can be together. But heaven is eternal, not breakable. So the fantasy is fragile, something that can be ripped at the seams, as Summer Nights puts it. This is not a carefree summer fling anymore. It is a relationship with a deadline. The end of summer means the end of the romance, which isn't a big deal unless you've gone and caught feelings. And hang on to that thought, we'll come back to it. Verse 2 is one of the strangest, most asked about lines in the entire song. The vending machine. Hang your head low in the glow of the vending machine. I'm not dying. People ask about this line constantly. It's so oddly specific. Why a vending machine? Why is it glowing? And why is he hanging his head? By this point in the song, Taylor has already given us the metaphor framework. Fever, slow dying, breakable heaven. This is a relationship with a terminal illness. So when I hear that vending machine line, I'm not picturing a random hallway or a motel or a school cafeteria. I picture a waiting room, a dimly lit hospital waiting room. That weird glow, strange suspended feelings, standing there with a blank stare because there is nothing else to do. Waiting on news you know isn't going to be good. He's got his head hung low because he's starting to grieve. So Taylor tells him she's not dying. That denial is interesting because she's the one who has been telling us this relationship isn't healthy. She knows the end is coming. She knows this will not keep going forever. So when she says she's not dying, that's not reassurance. I hear a misdirection. The same kind of sweet, doomed platitudes we get from Danny telling Sandy in Grease that of course what they feel is real and of course they'll always be friends, and Sandy innocently accepts that at face value. But Tay's summer lover says they'd just screw it up anyway. He may not have the whole picture yet, but he knows the relationship is unstable, hence the grieving. He's right to grieve, and Taylor knows it. She never meant for this to last past summer. But why grieve when you can live in denial a little while longer? In the second pre-chorus, Taylor tells him to cut the headlights. So cut the headlights, summer's a knife. I'm always waiting for you just to cut to the bone. Why would she do that? Because headlights let you see what's ahead. They illuminate the road. They show you where you're going. So by telling him to cut the headlights, she is asking him to stop looking ahead. Don't think about where this is or isn't going. Don't try to see the future. Stay in the dark a little while longer. And then she says summer's a knife. And I love that. Summer is the thing that made this relationship possible, a temporary little world where they could be together. But summer is also the thing that ends it, the knife that cuts them off from each other. The same season that gave them the romance is the thing that severs it. And she says she's waiting for it to cut to the bone. And that is a hint that she's feeling more than she expected to. This cut isn't going to be a surface wound. It's not casual. It is damage all the way down to the core. And if she bleeds, he'll be the last to know, which makes sense because she's planning to be long gone. That takes us back to Getaway Car, where she speeds off with the money after stealing the keys, and to Greece, where both Danny and Sandy thought they had a clean break ahead of them. Taylor knows summer is the limit. This deadline is her own creation. She gave the relationship the terminal illness. And still, she is asking him not to look too far ahead.
I think the importance for me of a bridge, it just feels like we're painting a picture, we're setting a scene. We have this opportunity as a songwriter to tell an entire story, an entire movie, or a very detailed description of one scene in a movie, or a very nuanced dynamic between people, or a complicated emotion. And we have only so long to do this. You can start like painting the picture in the verse. You can get to the heart of it at the chorus, but then the bridge can be where you zoom back, you walk 20 feet back, and you see what this entire painting was supposed to be. Like, you've seen brushstrokes, you've seen the color tones, but the bridge can be when you step back and you feel everything that that piece of art was supposed to make you feel. That's just how I feel about bridges.
That description is really helpful here because the bridge of Cruel Summer does precisely what Taylor is describing. Up to this point, the song has played things a little close. We've been in the fever dream, in this temporary summer world where she keeps insisting that everything is fine as long as they don't look too far ahead, but the bridge zooms out. It lets us see the whole painting at once.
I'm drunk in the back of the car, and I cried like a baby coming home from the bar. Said I'm fine, but it wasn't true. I don't wanna keep secrets just to keep you.
Suddenly, all the little images we've been following start to come into focus. The car, the crying, the fake cool, the hidden wounds, the deadline she created, and the confession she did not plan for. She is drunk and crying in the back of the car, and the performance of cool finally cracks. The line about not wanting to keep secrets just to keep him pulls Getaway Car back into view. In that song, she leaves one relationship by hopping into the Getaway Car relationship, then ends that by entering a third relationship. In Cruel Summer, the secrecy suggests that she has more to hide than the end of a season, and I think it's a callback to Getaway Car and the shoulda known I'd be the first to leave, think about the place where you first met me line. She does not want to keep secrets just to keep him because keeping him now requires hiding what else is happening. All this time, she's been saying it's cool, she's fine. She's been telling him not to look ahead, telling him she's not dying, acting like the ending is manageable because she already knows it's coming. But in the bridge, she cannot wear that mask anymore. She stops pretending because she has gone and done the one thing that makes this whole casual arrangement fall apart. She has fallen in love. In Getaway Car, Taylor gives us the mechanics of their doomed relationship: the escape, the betrayal, the understanding that nothing good starts in that kind of setup. Cruel Summer gives us the emotional toll of that setup. This is the same car with the same crying and dying, but now we are not just looking at how the relationship was doomed, we are hearing what it cost her. She tried to treat it like something temporary, something with no rules, something breakable, something that could end when summer ended. And then love made it real.
I love you, ain't that the worst thing you ever heard?
That is why the confession is so catastrophic. It is not that love is bad, it is that love changes the terms. The end of a temporary romance where no one catches feelings might sting a little, but it can be filed away as a beautiful, foolish summer. But once she loves him, the deadline becomes harsh with real casualties because she is still not planning to stay. And structurally, Taylor makes sure we notice his reaction to this. A traditional pop bridge is often called a middle eight because bridges are commonly built around 8 lines, but Cruel Summer gives us an extra line, a ninth line. And that ninth line is dedicated to him. After all of her unraveling and the crying and the admission that she is not fine and the confession that she loves him, Taylor turns the camera toward his face, and what does he do? This line gets discussed a lot because folks aren't sure what Taylor's getting at here, but I think I know. I think this is a clue. Taylor sometimes incorporates clues in her songs to hint at who they are about. Sometimes it's the title of the song evoking their name, or the signature instrumentation of their songs included in hers, the mention of an article of clothing they may have been seen wearing, or, in this case, an expression that evokes the role most associated with them. A devilish grin. Not an evil grin or a sneer, the grin of a trickster, perhaps? Someone playful, charming, mischievous, and maybe even a little mythic. It's also a grin that says he thinks he just figured her out. And this is where Krys helps us, again, because Danny Zuko gives us the perfect model for this kind of grin. Danny is not a villain, but he is a performer. He is cool, cocky, flirtatious, and constantly trying to look like he has the upper hand, even when he so clearly does not. When I hear grinning like a devil, I picture someone who thinks he just won an emotional standoff. Taylor says, "I love you," and he looks up with that devilish grin because to him, this sounds like the confession he's been waiting for. Proof that the feelings are mutual. Proof that this thing that they've been pretending is casual is not casual at all. Proof that the summer fantasy has turned real. But Taylor is not changing her plans just because love has entered the picture. That is the heartbreak of the line. He hears the confession as a beginning, while she knows the tragedy of it as an ending. After the bridge and final chorus, the song sends us back to the garden gate, mirroring the way she tells us she went back there every night that summer. Every time she sneaks in, she's choosing to re-enter that fever dream. She is stepping back into the temporary summer world, back into the relationship she knows must end.
You and I snuck in through the garden gate every night that summer just to seal my fate. And I scream for whatever it's worth. I love you, ain't that the worst thing you ever heard?
And when she says she is sealing her fate, that makes the choice feel even heavier. She was dooming herself to fall in love with him by spending so much time together. A casual fling has built-in moderation, distance, and gaps. But she went back every night, and that repetition put her in the position to develop real feelings. This is not one accidental night, or one bad decision, or one moment where feelings got away from her. It is a pattern. She keeps choosing him. She keeps choosing the romance. She keeps choosing the thing that she will not allow to last. And after the bridge, we understand the cost of that choice because now we know the feelings were real, but the deadline was real too. She knew summer was the limit. She saw the end coming. She knew this relationship had a terminal illness because she had chosen the time of death. And even after love entered the picture, she did not take that deadline away. That is where the cruelty lies, not in the fact that summer ended. Summer always ends. The cruelty is that she kept choosing something she already knew was going to end. She let it become real. She let him believe it might last, and then she still held on to the ending she had determined from the beginning. I asked at the start of this why the summer was cruel. I think it's because the season gave them a world where they could love each other, but it was Taylor who gave that world an expiration date. Summer may have been the knife, but someone had to wield it. Thank you for listening to the Taylor Explainer. Hit that follow button so you don't miss our next episode on Maroon off the Midnights album. And join me on Patreon for bonus off-the-record episodes, where I share more of my research into the story behind the songs. Until next time.